Ay, ay, ay. Another chance to get into the race, and we just fall apart again. Sharks losing another one. Oh, Lordy. We'll talk about it, and we'll get you set for all the events tomorrow, right now, on Teal Town After Dark. Good evening, everyone. It is April 16th, 2021. We are on the verge of history. Unfortunately, it's in both it's in both ways. Oh, God. Sharks lose 3-2 to the Minnesota Wild. We welcome you to this edition of Teal Town After Dark. This is your live interactive Sharks postgame. We do this after every game, so if you want to be part of the show, Teal together and chat with us and fellow Sharks fans on the page or the app. Follow us on the social, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. That really does mean a lot to us. SoundCloud, Reddit, Discord, and of course find everything at tealtownusa.com. Pleased to be joined tonight by Mr. Al Martinet. Al, how's it going tonight?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'd be better if the Sharks actually won a game.
It's been a while. It's been about 4 or 5 games.
They have now lost 4 in a row. Good news. Give the defense credit. They only allowed them 18 shots on goal. Bad news. 1 out of every 6 shots went in.
I mean, defense played well. It's just, and I can't even fault Martin Jones. This is probably one of his sloppier games. It's just, for a while I've been saying give Jones some rest, and he got some rest. It's just, for a while now, you would think that this would be somewhat of a classic bounce back game for him.
But that's the thing, is that you would think that there would be a bounce back. You think that there would be something, but you know what? You blew your opportunity when you played Arizona, Arizona too. You basically pooped the bed, when you went to Glendale and lost to the Coyotes. Then you blew, you blow your 5-game homestand. Okay, well, shoot, we'll give you 1 win. All right, great job all around. That's terrific. But here's the problem: those were winnable games, and nobody wants that number 4 spot in the West. Give me a freaking break, and then you just can't get it. And then, of course, the officiating. I look. I do my best to not go off on the officiating, because that's just not happening. And DFabe 53. Good evening to you. I think you're new here, so thanks for joining us. Sad to see
a new name.
Yeah, sad to see the boys lose all these crucial games, but it just speaks to them not being a playoff team. They can't win the ones that matter.
That's something we've known for a while, though.
Right.
The record against the big 3 that we've talked about: St. Louis, Colorado, Vegas, pretty
Colorado.
bad. They were pretty good the start of the season against Las Vegas, but LA, Anaheim, Arizona. But even then, down the stretch right now, not getting the same consistency right now.
Yeah, and early on it was just blowing leads. Now it's just not getting enough offense going. Yes, Carlson ended the shutout streak last game with about 2 minutes to go. Good news. This is that the Sharks got off to a nice start. About 3.5 minutes in, Tomas Hertl goes coast to coast for his 13th. Good to see Hertl, get excited. Yeah, for sure. I got so many skating strides, and then puck goes in, and I go yay, to make it 1-0.
Again, Sharks down early, not getting the first goal. This is now the sixth game in a row that they didn't get the first goal in the game.
Oh no, they did get the first goal of the game.
Oh,
They did get the first goal of the game, so they broke the streak. In fact, I think the Sharks, because now they control their pro shop and everything, is hashtag no free ads, but sharksproshop.com, 25% off of all their goodies right now until
my
midnight.
apologies. I'm just so used to them being behind.
Hey, I mean, I don't blame you one bit for getting that. I mean, we're so used to it though. You're so used to having them go down 1-0, and it's nice to see they get on the board to make it 1-0. But then the prospect that was Nick Bonino that we traded to Anaheim years ago gets his 6 to tie it up at 1-1. To me, that's something that Jones should have, but give them credit. 4 shots on goal for Minnesota that period. I mean, we'll take it. It was like 8-4, I think. But it was a very low scoring game. Definitely. I'm trying to see if the block shots, even the block shots were low.
Yeah.
So
11 block shots. But to your point about the power plays, the Sharks only had 1 compared to.
They should have had so many more.
Yeah, but Minnesota had 3. That's, if you think that the power play was a little bit shifted, the Sharks had more, that could have played a factor.
Mm-hmm. And you look at it, you saw Vlasic get high sticked right in front of the official. To quote Brett Hedican, he was 3, 5, 8, 10 feet away. The player actually went up to him and said, "I'm sorry." And they still didn't call the freaking penalty. Are you kidding me? And then they call one on Hertl in the third period. That was supposed to be a double minor. Hertl's looking at him like, what the hell? I didn't do anything. And then they review it. I mean, I guess, Al, that the best thing is that if we're gonna get a rule or a rule that's because of what happened with Vegas and everything, I'm glad it went there. Now the question being, are we supposed to be reviewing the double minors? I'm not so sure, but I'm glad they got that fixed.
I don't necessarily mind them reviewing double minors, but I would kind of prefer that to be mostly in the playoffs, making sure the penalties are getting called right. I really do matter the flow of the game being compromised, looking at every penalty.
Right.
Of course, the whole instance with giving, I think with about 2 or 3 weeks ago, when a referee was caught with a hot mic giving a penalty to another team, that can go both ways. So I'm out on more consistency, and if this is the right way of doing it, then I'm totally fine with it.
Yep. Yeah. It's just frustrating to see that the Sharks were getting penalties or for high sticking and holding, and let's see, there was a holding, tripping, and the LeBanc tripping call was legitimate. I'll give you that, but the Couture one is like, oh my God, Cooch, you're killing me, and then LeBanc would come out and get the breakaway, just no luck, but here, you know what, Marty T, you are absolutely right. I got bad news. The refs are probably not going to start pulling the whistles out even more during the playoffs. So yeah, if this team were to do anything, at least they would, they're going to be used to playoff officiating already. So
there's always that.
Yeah. So continue on, you get through 1-1, and then Zuccarello and Parisi get 2 goals in a little over a minute. First one was off of a face-off, face-off win by the Minnesota. Rask gets it to Zuccarello. He throws it in to make it 2-1. Then Parisi, Parisi, gets his sixth from Dumba and Benino, and there it was just two defensemen on the wrong side, and Parisi's gets the puck wide open and bangs it home to make it 3-1. And that right there, just frustrating to see.
I think it's more just good teams know when to close out bad teams. And coming to this season, I didn't really expect much from the Wild. But Wild has been, one of the surprises of the season, and they have taken points against the teams that they were supposed to. And the Sharks didn't do that this season.
Yeah, and that's the thing, it's just frustrating, because you get those two quick goals and they're out of it. Then you see the Dumba play on Sorensen, and he gets a stick to the head. He goes into the locker room, no call. And it's just and then you see these little things like Hertl getting a holding call, and he's just trying to get through to beat through it, and it's just not happening. Comments from the post-game presser from AJ. AJ, I saw you calling. I'll get you on in just a jiffy here. Bugner, we were looking for a response game. We played hard. Wish we would have been on the power play. Some high sticks were missed. I thought we played well. To me, yes, I wish they were on the power play, but here's the thing. You haven't done crap on the power play. I think we said 2 for 20 in your last 5.
Yeah.
On the 5-game homestand. I mean, it's ridiculous. Going on. Then Kane's had a good year for us. He brings it every night and plays fast. We've cleaned it up with the discipline stuff, and that's a good mention here. While Kane got that shorthanded goal when Couture was in the box, he would he wouldn't have been in there if he got into any of the shenanigans that he was trying to get to with Greenway. And one thing I know AJ had retweeted was from Kevin Kurz on our Twitter feed, and it was let me try and pull it up here, but something that meaning in regards to King was being stupid. He was taking bad penalties, not drawing any penalties. I think it was like 11-4 in going into the box or drawing calls. Now it's balanced out a lot more. And for that sense, Al, when he made it 3-2, you kind of have to think that
they had a chance.
They had a chance, and he wouldn't have been on the ice if it weren't.
Yeah. Again, like you said about Kane, he's been one of the most consistent forwards all season with everything going around. But, the forward depth has just been an issue for the Sharks. The Sharks only had 22 shots. Again, the Wild only had 18. But the main stat tonight is that the Wild had a 60% face-off percentage, and they really just won the puck every single time during the face-offs. Even if the Sharks had a decent power play, I don't think they could have really done anything because they would have lost the puck for their power play. Yeah, that's just the story right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think we mentioned on the Twitter feed that they have as many power play goals in the month of April as we do shorthanded goals.
Yay!
which if there were a ton of power play goals, well, cool. We got a ton of shorthanded goals, but that's the tough part, and
you would have thought that, after the trade deadline, people would have been a little bit off edge. They would have been better, at least they would have been better on the ice.
Right.
But right now, I think there's a real worrisome the locker room chemistry has just not been there this entire season. And that's probably going to be more of a discussion going forward next season.
Yeah, and I mean, something's got to give. I mean, yes, you're getting a look at all the kids, but how many of them are going to stick and stay? Especially if you're a forward on this club. You drafted 9 guys, all forwards. I mean, granted, a lot of them are not going to be either with the big club or with the Kuhre next year, which is fine. They need to develop, and I don't know if it's going to be a good thing to develop with the Barracuda right now. So, I don't.
No, yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have more spots. Theoretically, Marlowe won't be there. He's talked about how he wants to play another year, but you're gonna have another spot to give to your fourth line. It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be nice to see the Barracuda kids make their way to the NHL, but it's still gonna be rough for the next 2 or 3 years.
I mean, you're going to go through pain. We're warning you right now, folks. They're going to be going through pain. It'll be nice if they could pull a rabbit out of their butt, but it's just not going to happen. Which is why I think I'm so frustrated with this team right now, because they're right in the thick of it and they're falling apart. It's either one thing, Jones was doing great, then they trade Dubnyk. Honestly, I think Jones is too comfortable. I think Jones is way too comfortable right now with no competition between them. And to me, ever since Dubnyk's been gone, you can't tell me he's not comfortable.
Even if he had a legitimate competition for Jones, I don't think it really does matter. Like, the Sharks have proven they can't support a goaltender. They can't clear the puck out of their zone consistency. Honestly, like, it doesn't matter. The Sharks are just not supporting each other. Maybe that will change at the end of the season. But for Cornosh, the way they perform for him, the little things they aren't doing this season, they're not supporting him. They're not supporting any goaltender in the net. And that's a bad sign right now.
Indeed. All right. I don't know anymore. It's just very frustrating to see that this team is again. AJ mentioning, I love how Booger calling out the fourth line that features Handemark and VL have 30 games between them, if that. Yeah.
I mean, coming to the season, we all kind of said, I think everyone who's been on the show has kind of said, come in with low expectations. Unlike last season where, we fell into the trap of we might make it to playoffs if things work out. This time around, I've kind of said, I don't think the Sharks ever really had a legitimate shot to make it to the playoffs, or this team was even like playoff ready.
Gotcha.
So, dude, I don't need to be on, dude.
So
put that shit away. You're already AOLing. Put that shit away.
Hey, you know what's funny is that it just added you on out of nowhere. There we go. And Al, back on. There you go.
And he's back.
I am replaced.
No, you are never replaced.
I am. Will be replaced pretty soon.
No, you will not. Absolutely not. But AJ, you called.
Wow, can my face get any bigger or redder? No. I was on the call following the game. I'm telling you, Shimmick looked and sounded defeated. He did not sound happy. And Couture, not much better. And in fact, at some point, someone asked him a question towards the end, something about God, what was it? It was something about, look, it's been a hot minute since you've scored. And if you look at it, the Sharks haven't been scoring lately. I mean, 3 goals in the last 3 games. And let's be honest, a couple of those goals coming in garbage time. So what can you do? It's like, do you put more pressure on yourself? Do you try to like let it go? And Couture just basically said, if you figure it out, let me know.
God.
I mean, there's 14 games left, boys. Like, if you haven't figured it out by now, and again, to sit there and hear Bugner say, well, I felt like we got some, we could have had some more chances on the power play. And I know you said this, Erik, earlier, but it's like, what the hell does that make a difference? You've scored 2 for your last 20, and why would that make a difference? Like we pointed out, you have the same amount of shorties that you have power plays this month. Like, look, this was your chance. This last stretch was your opportunity, and unfortunately, you were not able to, meet the task. When you go, 1-4 versus LA and Anaheim on a 5-game stretch at home.
Yeah,
it's unacceptable. So this is what we're going to be able to, once all is said and done and the playoffs begin, and we see that all the matchups are ready to go and the Sharks are out. And I think most of us would probably bet that the Sharks are going to be out. You're really going to be able to point at this last stretch of games and say, this was the difference maker. I mean, now granted, there's a handful of other ones in there. There was the game where against St. Louis, they were up like 4-1 and lost 7-6. I mean, there's a couple other games where you can go back and look and sit there and go, well, they let a couple of those get away from them. And it feels, I'd have to go back and look at the numbers, but it feels like there's definitely been more games that they've let get away from them versus games that they were able to come back and win. But this stretch of this last 8 games, this is really what we're going to be able to kind of go back on, especially like we talked about after the last game where every team that you were chasing all lost. They opened the door for you, and you couldn't do it.
That's the thing, is that the door was open. And Al, we'll mention again, Burns 0 goals in his last 20 games. Couture 1 goal, in his last 20 games. His last goal was March 22nd. We're almost getting onto a month here. There's no excuse for it, Al.
Nope, you're absolutely right. I mean, Burns had his good games. I think what was it? About 4 games ago, he had 4 assists against the Kings. But Couture is obviously nursing a big injury, either on his wrist or something. But, Velasic has been injured for 2 or 3 weeks. Hertl has been out with COVID during the season. But Meyer has really been a ghost this season. God, we can go down the list, but there's been the superstars, the big players haven't really showed up this season.
Kane, that's it.
Yeah, Kane.
Well, yeah.
I mean, right now, AJ, and then Al afterwards. Kane, your team MVP. I mean, I feel bad that you actually can't out a team MVP, but I mean, he seems to would be the front runner for Player of the Year for the Sharks this year.
I don't know that there's anybody else that you could choose.
Yes, I'm like, who else?
The only other person, I wouldn't say MVP necessarily, but I would say exceeded expectations, is Knyzhov.
Gabriel maybe, but that's like
what?
That's a huge. But that's
he's already been replaced.
That's the thing. Like, who else? Like, I can't name one.
Right.
Well, no, he's already been replaced. And that was the funny thing that I got a kick out of tonight when Bugner was talking about, well, we got caught out there with our 4th line a couple times. And it kind of intimated that he was kind of calling out the 4th line. And I'm sitting there going, okay, VL, how many NHL games does he have? Like 7? How many does Handemark have? Like 8? I mean, are you kidding me? Like, literally, there's a guy on your team that has 1,500 times more games. So I don't understand how you can I mean, if you want to sit there and go, well, it was the fourth line that let us down. That's when those goals were scored, and it's just like, well, that's the fourth line you were given. Instead of complaining about that, maybe talk to Doug Wilson about that and why that's what you have.
And at times the fourth line, no matter who was in it, whether it's Nieto or Sorensen or Marlowe or Gregor, Gambrell. I mean, guys, there were times early on this season that the fourth line was the productivity line. When Couture wasn't doing anything, when Kane couldn't contain his attitude, when Hertl was on the Schneider had COVID, or LeBanc was going over. I mean, I would almost want to look up how many guys have been on double digit game Schneids this season. I think Leonard hasn't scored in almost half the year. Al,
Leonard didn't even play tonight.
Well, no, but I mean, that's the point, though.
Exactly. No, that's what I'm saying. It's like it's been so long since he's made an impact. Handemark replaced him. Handemark, really.
And he lost the draw that set up the second goal for Zuccarello.
Yeah.
And the face-off percentage has been the worst thing for the Sharks. This has been one of the worst forward depths all season. And you thought last season was bad.
Yes, I did. The one saving grace that you can take from this entire game is you can go back and say, God damn, that Hertl goal was nice. But other than that, it sucked. The first 5 minutes of this game, you're like, all right, they get on the board first. Hey, now they've played well in Minnesota. The only thing that you can sit there and kind of be a little nervous about is that Minnesota is lights out at home. So to get that first goal, you're sitting there going, whew, all right, pressure's off. Let's do this, boys. And then it all went to shit within 65 seconds.
Well, does that really matter, though? I mean, there's no one really in the stands.
They had some, but
you still have to win the game.
I know, you still have to win the game.
I don't care if there's 2 people or 20,000 people.
Yeah, but it's not like previous seasons.
Some comments in the chat for best player, and Justin Denny's been cracking us up in the chat. Best player has been Patterson.
Who?
Bum.
No guy. I was like, who?
But Ruben, 21 pucks. Ferraro bandwagon is alive and well. Yeah, I mean, he had some nice block shots that kind of got in the way.
He had a couple, but even Ferraro the last couple of weeks has been uninspired and unimpressive.
Yeah. So
the whole group. I mean, just as a whole, when's the last time this team scored more than 2 goals?
Hashtag fewer fewer.
Yeah, seems like it's been a hot minute.
More than 2 goals. They played LA 5-2.
Yeah, that last Saturday when they won.
And then after that, when they played Minnesota against LA again, 3-2.
3-2 on April 3rd.
And then LA again, 3-2, and then Minnesota 4-2. When we went on that stretch, when we thought we were actually decent.
Well, yeah. You started having contributions up and down the line, but dude, when you throw up over 40 shots on a third-string goalie on the worst team in your division and can't score, that should be a red flag.
Oh, it was a red flag, all right. That's for damn sure. Damn sure.
I've been saying it for a while. It's going to get worse before it gets better.
Do you know who the plus-minus leader is for the Sharks this season?
Curtis Gabriel.
No.
Who?
I'm shocked.
Who is it?
Frederick Gleason.
He's not even on the team anymore.
No. And he's +1.
Oh, no.
Curtis Gabriel's number 2.
Okay, see, there you go. Hey, you know what? At least I took the guy who's still on the fucking team.
So
sort of.
So sort of.
Who's still property of the Sharks,
Oh my God. Curtis Gabriel's the plus-minus leader. Oh, jeez.
Dude, I think the MVP you got to go with right now is Marcus Krona.
Magnus Krona?
Or Magnus. Yeah,
Yeah.
Marcus, man. Who gives a shit? Either way, we got that Corona.
The leader in the negative department is Kevin LeBanc, -10.
And yet considered an analytics darling.
Yes. But I think he's been better in the second half of the season.
Well, here, I'll tell you something. This is kind of fun. Something that I was working out for the show this weekend, but just a fun fact, fun bit of information, if you will. One of the things that I've always talked about, and this is going back to the days of Milan Mahalik, is I used to dump on Mahalik because there was something, oh, well, he had, 28 goals. And I'd say, okay, well, how many of them were scored in garbage time? How many of them meant something? And usually they weren't the most meaningful. Let's just take a look at this season right now. Joe Pavelski right now, 17 goals. 5 of those are opening scores. The first score of the game. Significant.
Opening tip.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey-o.
3 of those goals were go-ahead goals to take a lead in a game. 3 of them were game-tying goals, and 2 of them were game winners. So that over half your goals are high value. Now, Evander Kane, 16 goals, so just 1 less than Pavelski, but 2 opening goals. Now he has 1 more go-ahead than Pavelski with 4. He's got 1 less tying with 2, and he's got the same amount of game winners, 2. But either way, Kane is close to Pavelski when it comes to high value goals. But still, it's got to stick with you that the guy that you said, oh, he's too old to keep, or he's too expensive, or we can't figure out a way to work it. And I'm not saying that he would have done what he's doing in Dallas in San Jose, but it certainly doesn't help any arguments.
It looks pretty bad for Doug Wilson.
It does. It does. The better Pavelski does, the more Wilson has to be just like, ay, ay, ay.
Congrats on the Hall of Fame, Doug Wilson.
Yikes. I mean, if it weren't for the situation the Sharks have with the front office and where their owner is and such, I would question whether or not when he gets inducted, I think they're just going to have the induction next year if he's still the Sharks GM. But honestly, he's going to be there. No problem.
Well, is it going to be next year during the season or
I think they usually have had it like in November.
Oh,
November,
boy.
December.
Can you imagine what that'll be like if he is that? Well, he's going in as a player though, not as a builder,
right?
So it's different. Yeah. But boy, could you imagine? I mean, it's definitely when the scribes are writing about it. If the Sharks are on the outside looking in when that ceremony occurs, dude. I mean, it's like, yeah. So here's Doug Wilson. Assembled a team that put that missed the playoffs the last 2 seasons and right now are on trek for their 3rd missed playoffs.
Yeah.
And see, now here's the other thing. If you're Hertl, I mean, dude, and there's no significant change after this off season, like a piece isn't moved or bought out, whether it's Vlasic or Burns or whoever, some significant piece is not shipped out to free up some cash to bring in something, some sort of help. If that isn't happening, dude, I'm the goalie and Slapshot, right? Trade me right fucking now. Like you're on the final year, just do it. And if I'm Kane, I'm probably like, Jesus Christ, I am dead in my prime. And this is what this is what the forecast is for the next couple seasons. Yikes. And then you get to Erik Karlsson, who says, I didn't come here for a rebuild.
Okay, then.
Well, it's just like, okay, well, you've been here for 3 years, and how's that working out for you? Because the first 2 years of your big money deal, you're not going to the playoffs, sir. And it's not looking good for next year, to be quite honest.
And I hope if Kane asked to be traded, people don't look at his Buffalo record and put the same.
You mean Ottawa?
No,
No.
Kane.
You said, I'm sorry, Kane. I thought you were talking about Carson. Go ahead.
No, I was like, no. But like,
you think Kane would ask for a trade?
I think at a certain point, if things aren't going the right way, and he might want to go out to a playoff contender, I think Kane's contract is much easier to trade, contract-wise. It wouldn't surprise me if you see him, but
I don't know. Point I was making on his creditors.
Well, that too. But
but AG, I hate to say it, but that brings up the point about potentially his contract being voided. I mean, maybe there's another out clause for it. I mean, it's not technically a legal one, but maybe he's like, maybe if I say this and have this come up, maybe I can find another deal somewhere else.
NHLPA will be riot if the Sharks just void his contract for no reason other than the creditors, and then the Sharks don't re-sign him. Like, I think the deal would be the Sharks re-sign him immediately.
Justin Denny with the super chat donation. Thank you very much, Justin. Appreciate it. A little fact or fiction. I think somebody's stealing somebody's ammo here, but fact or fiction, Couture loses the C next season.
Fiction,
because there's no one else.
Yeah, who gets it?
Right.
Hertl, but
no, I wouldn't give it to her. I damn sure wouldn't give it to a cat. I mean, as great as Hertl is, I wouldn't give it to a guy who's on the final year of his deal.
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, who else do you give it to? Vlasic has proven he doesn't give a shit about it. I mean, he's straight up said that. Burns doesn't seem like a guy who cares. If anything, and I hate to say this, but maybe if anything, you give it to Carlson to placate his ego.
I don't think he was ever a captain.
Yeah,
maybe he was an assistant. Was he assistant captain?
Was a captain. He was a captain in Ottawa his last few years. Once I forget, it was either Spezza or no, I think it was once Spezza left. He was the captain of the Sens. Who knows?
Either way, maybe you give it to him to placate his ego, but even then, it's
placate ego shouldn't be a reason to be the leader of the team.
No, I absolutely agree with you. I mean, and Ferraro, I think we'll get it down the line. I think it's way too early for Ferraro to get it. I mean, to get it his third year, dude, he's like making less than $1 million. You're like low money guy. No, as great as Ferraro is, I would have to say no on that. But honestly, yeah, there's nobody I can think of on this team other than Couture right now.
Yeah, there's no one long term besides Ferraro that I would give it to, but like maybe
Ferraro isn't long term.
But like after you sign him to a long term deal,
oh,
that's who I would.
I get what you're saying, Al. Meaning, a youngster. This can be his team. We've seen that with mega stars.
How old was Pronger when he got the C in St. Louis?
He was fairly young. He was pretty young.
Yeah, 22, 23.
And that team was stacked too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And how old was Jumbo when he got it in Boston?
Yeah. No, you're right on that one.
So, I mean, now granted, we're talking 20 years ago, could be a little bit different, but now I don't see there's anybody else who you would give it to right now. And would it really make that big of a difference?
Rob Ivan's saying, does Hertl get traded this offseason?
Trade me right fucking now.
You can actually get away with it saying it that way.
I don't think so. I don't think so. If the return was there and I'm Wilson, as much as I personally love Hertl, I pull that trigger in a heartbeat because I'm embracing the rebuild, people. I know Doug Wilson hasn't yet, but I am.
How dare you call it a rebuild? It's a reset. God.
Fuck you and your terminology. Dude.
Look, Doug Wilson is smart. Like he wants to start a rebuild, but he just can't. But that's mostly his fault, the way he laid out his contracts.
Well, you got to have to do something. And
Right.
I mean, the picks, you had all those picks last draft. You got a ton load, already projecting to be around 10 this season. Okay, that's great. So what can you do this offseason? Can you move Hertl in the final year? Remember, though, there's also an amount of players that you have to satisfy a quotient of amount of players that need to be exposed for Seattle. So you have to take all that into account too. It's going to, I'm telling you, between now and the draft, it's going to be real interesting to see Doug Wilson sit there at the board, at the cork board with the string and yarn trying to connect all the dots. And maybe, after a couple of seasons, Erik Karlsson goes, you know what? I've made a terrible mistake. But the thing is, no one's taking that contract. No one.
Well, no one that he probably wants to go to, we should say.
Oh, I can't imagine anybody wanting to take that contract right now.
Hey, Ottawa, do you want a Erik Karlsson?
Well, and here's
forever
the funny
home
thing is I was checking out some other podcast, and they were they kind of took the opposition view on this, where after the game against Anaheim the other night, where Karlsson was absolute garbage.
Yep.
He was shit. Now, was he the only one to score in that game? Yeah. And did he have like the most shots in the game? Yeah. It's like, but was he still like standing, like, was he almost directly responsible for 2 of the goals that Anaheim scored? Yeah. So it's like, you can sit there and go, well, he had 4 shots on goal. He had the most shots out of the game than any other player, and he was the only one who scored. Yes, and he was responsible for 2 against. So what the fuck is your point? Again, I just go back to, I get tired of pointing back to, what was it, December 18, January 19. Remember that 6-week stretch when Erik Karlsson was just the best player to ever skate on ice? Or, a couple weeks ago when it's like he had the 2 goals and then he had the shootout winner. Oh my God. There's the Karlsson we all know. And that's the guy we see for 3 or 4 games a season. You really want to pay $11 million for that?
We're going to for the next 6 years.
It would not surprise me if Chief gets bought out. I mean, I'm not saying this season. I'm saying after a couple more seasons.
What would be the cap expense for that?
Oh, it would be an ass fucking.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, it would be a rape.
Ew.
It would be
Bad
horrible.
Bad phrasing.
Well, yeah, but dude, that's what I mean. Or it's just like, nope, we just got to ride this out. We got to, because remember when they signed this, it was pay for the first 4, pray for the last 4.
Sure.
Dude, people are already on their knees with a rosary, and we're not even through the second one now. People are praying. This is a horrible contract. For anybody to say that it hasn't been proven so to this point is, I don't know, in some incredible biased denial. If you prorate his current stats, right? Points, assists, goals, you put what he's done so far over an 82 game season, it would be his worst point total since he broke into the league. That's what you're paying $11.5 million for. And last year, not much better. And what's funny, last year only played 56 games. This year, how many did Karlsson miss? 4, right? So only be 52. Oof.
Yeah. And then he got a end of the season surgery with that pinky.
Yeah, no, I'm saying, but last year, I mean, there were 70 games played last season. He only played in 56.
Yep.
And then there were scheduled to be 56 this season. He's right now scheduled to play 52. Either way, look, I get maybe the first year you had the EK defenders. Well, he's had some injuries or he's the groin thing or blah, blah, blah. Well, he had 10 months off to rehab it. And I'm not saying it, well, I am saying it. Clearly he had some sort of a groin issue because he came out and said it. I don't know how many groins Chief has, but there was some sort of issue. And then what happened? When he came back from that, he looked really good for a stretch. And now we're back to the usual Carlson. Did we all see Carlson like eat ice 2 nights ago? No one was around him. He just, blew a tire. But just going north-south. Like he wasn't even trying to cut. Like this, I'm sorry, all right. Look, everybody knows I can't stand this guy. I can't stand him as a person. I don't like him as a player. I think, I think this will go down. And I said this right during the signing. You can ask anybody. It's on tealtownusa.com. This will go down as the worst signing Doug Wilson has ever inked on paper.
Yeah, I was a fan of the trade.
Yes.
But the signing is the bigger issue.
Yep.
Because I made jokes about Drew Johnny's contract, I think it was 10.5, 11 million. And I didn't think the Sharks would ever do that because you thought the Sharks would re-sign Pavelski, re-sign a couple of their forwards, and that just never happened.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's been some people in our chat as well who have been staunch Carlson defenders. Now, funny that I don't see them defending him lately. Or they're not, or they've just said, "Oh, I'm tired of hearing AJ, slam on my favorite player, so I'm not here right now," and that's fine. But I mean, dude, it is what it is. Explain to me how you think this guy is so great. Brent Burns, well, hell, Mario Ferraro. Last time I checked, has one more assist than Erik Karlsson right now on the season. I think has one less point than Erik Karlsson on the season. And he's making $10.5 million less than Erik Karlsson this season.
The buyout clause would be $1.8 million for the next 10 years.
Yeah. No, by the time that got paid out, we would be they'd be the Sacramento Sharks at that point.
But the idea is that 1.8 million, you would have a chance to essentially restart if you kick that option.
I can tell you this right now. If you gave me the option to buy two, I had to buy one of two jerseys, either Erik Karlsson or Mike Hoffman. I'm buying the Mike Hoffman jersey.
Oh my God. I think that's a stretch, but okay.
All right, who was the other guy that we had for a hot minute? I'll get a Mark Messier Sharks jersey. How about that?
I don't mind that.
How long did we have him for? Like a day and a half?
Yeah, pretty much.
Weren't we also eating like Chris Pronger money for like 3 hours?
I don't know about Pronger.
I thought Pronger was, or that could have been involved in something. But
no,
yeah,
there was a rumor that he was almost traded here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, either way,
we didn't. But not to trigger you some more, but we didn't want to give up Milan Mahalik.
Dude. Okay, this goes to
no.
show you. No. This goes to show you how fucking over Erik Karlsson I am, dude. Before I would get an Erik Karlsson jersey, I would buy a Mikkel Bodker jersey.
Oh,
Hockey Jerk, if you're watching, please take note of that.
I'm just saying.
Really quick, because it's been up for a few minutes now. Ruben with the Super Chat donation, $5. Of course, we always mention the Super Chats because they help us support the show. A couple of topics back. Give Ferraro the C yesterday. # not biased. So
I think he'll get it.
He'll get it, but not right now. But yeah, so
he'll get it after he signs his long-term deal.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Well, and our buddy Jordan Furtado coming in saying, "I heard the officials were trash tonight." It wasn't their best night.
It wasn't their best.
I wouldn't
Neither
say
was
trash,
for the Sharks.
But again, it's you can't blame the officiating when you've gone 2 for your last 20. Like you can't sit there and go, if only you had a few more power plays. Why? What the hell were you going to do with them?
Yeah.
Alden # hotbod.
How many? Let me say this: how many even strength goals did the Sharks score tonight?
Oh, 1.
Yeah, Hertl 1. How many shorties did they score tonight?
1.
There you go. How many power plays? 0. So if anything, they should have taken more penalties because you probably had just as good a chance to score shorthanded as you did on the power play.
Right.
Just saying.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, this has been fun. We have to mention, what came out today right before the game. Jonathan Becker announced that there will be some fans that get to return to the Shark Tank on April 26th. So that's nice to see. Not, they're going to slowly phase it in. I think, what was it, families and staff?
I was on the call. You want the lowdown?
Sure.
All right. The 24th, families and staff, and that's going to be kind of a quote-unquote soft open. They're going to implement some things on the 24th, see how they work, and use the 24th as kind of a launching pad. And then the 26th, that'll be the first time it's open to fans outside the bubble, so to speak. They're looking at between 500 and 1,000. The county is allowing more, but they're starting slow. They're going to focus on the longest tenured season ticket holders first, along with corporate partners and suite holders. Suite holders, of course, makes sense. Corporate partners, of course, makes sense because they're the ones that pay the fat cash. And then seasons, by tenure, of course, season ticket holders, they've been pumping money into this for as long as possible. So that's where it's going to start. As of now, the club level will be off limits. So even if you have seats in quote unquote the club section, you still will not be allowed access into that club level for now, at least for the very first game. They're going to see how things go. Right now, it's still also kind of undetermined, and this will be looked at on the April 24th game, whether they'll even open the Sharks store for people to come in because, Erik, as you know, as I know, anybody who's been to a game, the line for the store can get rather long.
Yes.
And it's a very tight quartered space, so it'd be very hard to social distance. So you have that issue. Food and bev will be, you will use the app to order it. You will go to an express area to pick it up. Same thing with merchandise. Finally, for me, this is something that should have happened, 6-7 years ago, that you should be now able to use Apple Pay, Google Wallet, whatever, to purchase items such as a Sharky, fluffy doll or a puck or a pennant or a shirt, something along those lines. As much contactless stuff as possible. Parking, all of that stuff is going to be the same. Same thing. Well, public transit, they're rarely. If you're only bringing in 500 people, it's probably not that big of a deal. But that's kind of the gist of it, and I think they're going to basically use these final games to maybe test some things, and perhaps they might open up the arena a little bit more as it goes. So maybe 500 to 1,000, then 700 to 1,200, and so on and so forth, judging on their comfort level. Again, though, the biggest stipulation is you have to, in order to get a ticket, you have to provide a negative COVID test that was taken within that happens 72 hours by game time, or you have to show that you are beyond 2 weeks of your second dose of the vaccination. So there you go. Anything else? I'm sure it's on the Sharks website, or look at our Twitter feed.
Yeah, absolutely. Just getting that word out, because I know a lot of people have been wanting and waiting for that to get that going. So yeah, check out the Sharks website for that. And with that, we'll wrap things up. Hold on.
Fanatics Janmark jersey or authentic Adidas Carlson jersey?
Yes.
Can I just go neither?
Justin Denny with the super chat donation. Yeah, that's a tough Vegas jersey or an authentic Carlson jersey.
I'd rather just give you your $5 back. I mean, thank you for supporting the show. I appreciate it, but
All right. Well, in case you missed anything or you want to watch this again, check us out on tealtownusa.com or your favorite podcatcher, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, and of course, always available at tealtownusa.com. So with that, we'll be back tomorrow. Apparently, it's going to be a special occasion. Patrick Marleau will tie Gordie Howe at 17.
Oh, I thought it was going to be a special occasion because the Sharks might win.
Well, I mean, that'd be nice too, but I'm not counting our Roosters. That's for damn sure.
Now wrap it up.
Yeah. AJ, thank you for the quotes as well and the info on the fans coming back into the building. Your final thoughts?
Just
Alrighty then.
Get the season over with already.
Just end it.
Yeah, just put it out of its misery. Just take it up back and fucking shoot it.
Just sim to the end. What I do for Angel 21. Just sim to the end.
Yeah. Again, it's you had these 2 weeks and you didn't do it.
Al, your final thoughts, bud.
Rough season, rough game. Honestly, I'm glad Marleau's getting his record, but I don't think he should have even be starting. But anyways,
Marleau is with the Sharks next season,
I'm gonna be furious.
Oh yeah, no, I'm a burn something down.
I would get into another debate on that, but we'll save it for another time. I'm at PuckGuy14 on the Twitter and the Instagram. We'll be back tomorrow, where we'll break down everything Patrick Marleau and then some for that time. So, thank you for watching. Hit that subscribe button down below. Appreciate each and every one of you. If you just got a notification, yes, the Barracuda won 5-3 over the Iowa Stars. So, Kuda, thank you for saving the night. Appreciate it. Big time. And we'll be back with you tomorrow. Until then, keep it real. Keep it teal. Keep it real teal. The conversation continues on Discord right now with the crew. Have a great night, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow. Go, Patty.